like to call the August 5th, 2013 Finance Committee meeting to order. Chair would entertain a motion for the consideration of claims.
Mr. Chair, I'd move to pay the consideration that claims to be paid in the amount of $933,250.04. Manual checks written in the amount of $8,600. Checks written for payroll liabilities for June 26, 2013 in the amount of $340,058.50 for a total of $1,281,908.54.
Second.
All right. Are there any questions on the bills today?
I have none, Mr. Chair.
Nor did I.
Okay. And I just had one question on page 1 of 17, claim 17126. To Bailey Enterprises, and just because that's kind of different than what normally goes to Bailey Enterprises, the fund number there, the 764, said community assistance, so I was wondering what that was.
Copy that.
Yes, we do. Yep.
6104.
Yeah, this is the one.
You want to come sit up here?
Mr. Chairman, we do maintain a fund for people that are traveling through town and run out of gas, or sometimes people are in a situation where they need a hotel room overnight with kids and the homeless shelter can't take them. And so we use that community fund to just kind of help people with that. And so that's where that money, usually it's gas money that we spend that on.
Okay, thank you. All right, all those in favor of the approval of claims say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, motion carried. Next item on the agenda is reports, the general fund operational executive summary.
Yes, Your Honor. We got 3 different charts here. The first one is the general fund operational summary. This shows what the actual and what the budgeted amounts were. As you can see, these are off. It's not because we actually were terrible with making numbers, but some of them were related to, for instance, we had energy, let's see, no. The big one was the transfers from reserves in last year's budgets. We didn't have to make that transfer to reserves. So that makes the difference between the actual and the budget. As you can see, we're still in the positive, 635,513. So this is as of June 30th, 2013. The actual general fund revenues was $7,622,704, and our budget was $9,266,963. So we actually brought in less than what we anticipated. Same on the expenditures. The actual was $8,373,083, and the budget was $10,288,842. But in the end, we still didn't overexpend. Still in the positive 635,000. The other 2 charts show the difference between last year and this year, just for comparison. And what I found is interesting. It's really hard to determine between year to year. You'd think that it would be very more consistent, but some of them have to do with in the 2012-13, our supplemental funding was down, so that's why the intergovernmental funding was lower than that. We had an ERA grant that we had gotten for $720,000. On 2011-12, under the miscellaneous revenue, there was considerable increase in that, and that was because of our energy improvement, and then we formed the Riverside Assessment District, which we got, when we formed that, a lot of people paid those quickly, and that's why we have a lot more in there. But this just shows the difference between those. Obviously, we're still not expending more than we're bringing in. Even though the numbers show, compared to what we budgeted, the numbers are different. Are there any questions? Okay.
All right, is there any other business for us today, Mr. Weaver?
I don't think so. Unless there's any other questions?
No?
Council meeting tomorrow night.
All right, early.
Early.
Yep, 15 minutes early. Meeting adjourned.
Regular meeting of the Riverton City Council to order at 6:48. Would Councilman Smith lead us in the pledge, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Would the city clerk please conduct the roll call?
Yes, Your Honor. Councilman Todd Smith.
Here.
Councilman Jonathan Fabian.
Here.
Councilman Rich Guard.
Here.
Councilman Eric Heiser.
Here.
Councilwoman Mary Ellen Christensen.
Present.
Councilman John Lars Baker.
Here.
Mayor Ron Wartness.
I'm present. Thank you. I declare that we have a quorum at this time. Approval of the agenda. The chair would entertain a motion for the approval of the agenda.
I would move to approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. At this time, the chair would entertain a motion to convene into executive session for the purpose of personnel, considering the appointment, employment, right to practice, dismissal, complaints, or charges against a public officer, professional person, or employee in accordance with Wyoming Statute 16-4-405 AII, and for the purpose of considering offers tendering wages, salaries, benefits, or terms of employment during negotiations in accordance with Wyoming Statute 16-4-405 AX.
Your Honor, I'd move to convene into executive session for personnel.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Is there discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Chair would entertain a motion to reconvene into regular session.
Your Honor, I'd make a motion to reconvene into general session.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. There are no actions needing to be taken from the executive session. At this time, agenda item number 6, communication from the floor, citizens' comments. Anyone in the audience wishing to address the council regarding an item that is already on the agenda will be given an opportunity to speak later on. I would ask those individuals who wish to address the council at this time to approach the podium and identify yourself for the record. Is there anyone that would like to address the council at this time? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on. We have Fair Parade Awards presented by Mary Ellen Christensen. Council.
Mayor, would you like to accept this?
I'm sorry?
Would you like to accept this?
Absolutely. I'd be proud to.
And she.
Gonna do it.
Mary Ellen Christensen? No. On behalf of the Fremont County Fair Board for the 100th Fremont County Fair, I'd like to present the award for the best political float to the city of Riverton.
Thank you. Very nice.
Oh. And I would like to present to Chief Broadhead the Riverton Police Department Mounted Unit won second place in the equine division. So there you are, sir.
Thanks.
You bet. Thanks for being there. Appreciate it. Okay.
Thank you, Mary Ellen. I would just like to publicly acknowledge the work that Councilman Christensen did on the fair parade and whatnot. She's been working tirelessly on that project, and I'd just like to compliment her for a great job. I don't know if that had anything to do with our getting the award or not, but
No, they were very independent judges.
I'm thinking that it may have been that we were one of the few political floats in there. I think the next go around, when it will be an election year, things will change and we'll get a lot of political floats in there. So, but at any rate, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Appreciate that. Okay. The chair would the city clerk please read the consent agenda items by title only, please?
Yes, Your Honor. Approval of the minutes July 16, 2013 regular council meeting. Approval of the minutes August 5th, 2013 Finance Committee meeting. Approval of Finance Committee recommendations for August 5th, 2013. Approval of municipal court report for the month of July 2013. Approval of delinquent fines of deceased defendants July of 2013. And the clerk's office received the following catering permits. Back bar, August 10th, 2013, for the CWC Rodeo Booster Club at Fremont County Fairgrounds, 2 p.m. to 12 a.m. Back bar, August 11th, Back bar, August 11th, 2013, CWC Rodeo Booster Club at Fremont County Fairgrounds, 2 p.m. to 12. Lapeer, August 17th, 2013, wedding reception at Reach Foundation, 4 p.m. to 12 a.m. And Bar 10, August 28th, 2013, fundraiser for skate park at Fremont County Fairgrounds Heritage Hall, 4 p.m. to 12 a.m. Your
Honor,
Yes.
it's the recommendation of the Finance Committee for the approval of claims to be paid in the amount of $933,250.04. Manual checks in the amount of $8,600. Checks written for payroll liabilities for July 26, 2013 in the amount of $340,058.50 for a total of $1,281,908.54.
Okay, the chair would entertain a motion regarding the consent agenda.
Your Honor, I move to approve consent as presented.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Is there discussion on the consent agenda? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Agenda item number 8 is introduction of the new dispatcher, Megan Miller, and introduction and oath of office for new officer Mariah Wilson. Chief?
Come up, please. Thank you, Your Honor. You know, we like to introduce our public officers to the public so that I think it's fair that everybody knows who it is that's working on their behalf. Megan Miller, who was Megan Smith until somewhat recently. We hired her, I can't remember what your start date was. In March. She's already been through training. She still has to go to the academy, get her full certification for a couple of weeks, but she's on her own. She's dispatching and just doing a fantastic job. So I just want to present her with her badge so that her husband can pin her with that.
Okay, great.
Oh, sure.
Smiling. Draw blood.
Your Honor, next I'd like to introduce Mariah Wilson. Mariah is a police officer with us. We hired her within the last month, and she's in her field training phase right now. Mariah was an investigative technician with the Pocatello Police Department, and then after that was a dispatcher with Teton County, and we were able to lure her away and get her back here closer to home. So we're excited to have her, and she did a great job in training so far. So I think her dad's going to pin her. Responsibility.
This time we need to do the official swearing in. There's a copy for you to follow along as well. If you'd raise your right hand and state your name, please. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that I will support, obey, and defend the Constitution of the United States?
Swear or affirm that I will support, obey, and defend the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Wyoming.
and the Constitution of the State of Wyoming.
That I have not knowingly violated any law related to my election or appointment.
That I have not knowingly violated any law related to my appointment
Or caused it to be done by others.
or caused it to be,
And that I will discharge the duties of my office with fidelity.
and that I will discharge the duties of the office.
Congratulations. Welcome. We're going to need a signature there too to make it official. So.
All right.
Almost didn't squeeze you in there, Mayor.
Adam?
Almost didn't get to squeeze in there.
Yeah, I know. Okay, agenda item number 9 is Cedar Mountain Tree Care Business License. City Clerk's report, please.
Yes, Your Honor. The City Clerk's Office received an application from Cedar Mountain Tree Care. The criteria for the license is that they submit an application, they pay the $25 application fee, and they provide a valid proof of public liability property damage insurance. So all the above criteria has been met.
Okay, thank you. Chair would entertain a motion regarding the Cedar Mountain Tree Care Business License.
Your Honor, I would move that we approve the tree trimming license for Cedar Mountain Tree Care.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Okay, agenda item number 10 is the Riverwalk Project Bid Award. City Administrator's report, please.
Yes, Your Honor. The city was approached by the Depot Foundation to develop a pedestrian path along the river from Rails to Trails to South Federal Boulevard. The city secured a 75%, 25% transportation enhancement activity, which is a local TEAL grant from WYDOT in 2010. Usually the grant is for a 1 year, as the state is only allocated approximately $2 million yearly for statewide distribution. The city has already requested 2 extensions, one extension because of the environmental assessment that needed to be prepared before the consultant could be selected. The city will not be able to ask for another extension, nor will they be able to ask for additional monies because of the limited funds from WYDOT. In 2011, the city selected a consultant to design the walk path according to the grant specification. City contracted with Imberg Miller to prepare the plans and specifications. The city originally bid the project last fall, but the costs were too high because of the large amount of fill needed at the beginning of the project to meet ADA requirements. The city did not award the bid, but decided to do some of the work ourselves to reduce the construction costs. And I think somewhere I've heard a number of anywhere from $150,000 to $200,000 that we did of our own work to bring that down. This work will be used as the city's match to the grant. With city crews, the large fill was placed and culverts installed. The project would advertise for the second time on June 28th and July 5th. 3 contractors signed up. Bids were received and opened on July 16th and had the following bids: Dave's Asphalt, engineer's estimate was $314,345. Dave's Asphalt was $293, $216.60. 71 Construction was $338,671. Jerry Bornhoff Construction, $493,855. Staff reviewed the bids results with the consultant and WYDOT to assure the bid was responsive. Staff recommends that the City Council award the bid to Dave's Asphalt in the amount of $293,216.60. WYDOT has concurred with the bid. Just a point to point out, that's good. The project is funded by WYDOT Teal Grant, and we've used some of that. Initially it was $200,000. We're down to about $153,000. So obviously we're a little bit short here. So we're requesting that the monies be two options. The first is the Depot Foundation has offered to contribute an additional $50,000 to the construction project, which would put us down to about $100,000 or just below that. The rest is we're proposing to come out of general fund reserves. And Courtney has assured me that we have money set aside for a project like this. And so staff recommends approval of this bid.
Okay. Thank you. The chair would entertain a motion regarding the Riverwalk project at this time.
Your Honor, I'd move to approve the bid in the amount of $293,216.60 from Dave's Asphalt for the Riverwalk project.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Is there discussion? Anyone have any questions? I guess a question that I would have, you've indicated that the Depot Foundation has indicated that they will be paying another $50,000.
That's right.
How much do they have in the project at this time?
Alan's here. He can.
Mr. Moore.
Alan Moore, president of the Riverton Depot Foundation. At this point in time, the Depot Foundation has expended $12,000 in equipment usage from 2M Construction to work off a remediation program. We have put in $8,000 to obtain fill material for the project, and we have paid for some other things that are in existence at the time. We have made arrangements to come up with $50,000, and we will be able to deliver a check to you probably within the next 15 days, 10 days.
Okay. And we're how much short at this time, Stephen?
Well, with that $50,000, it's just a little bit under $100,000.
Okay.
Your Honor?
Yes.
I think it's
Councilman Fabian.
I think it's worth noting that we have discussed the possibility of approaching the two rec boards, our recreation board as well as the county recreation board. So that could potentially defray the costs significantly.
Okay. So we feel pretty confident that we can get some of that rec money.
You never know for sure, but it seems like the kind of project that those type of boards would want to get behind. So,
okay.
Well, certainly, Lars and I will present it on behalf of the city next District 25 meeting. So,
okay. Is there any possibility of the Depot Foundation helping a little more? Or?
This is a long-term project that we've been involved with for a very long period of time. We understand that progress is made slowly. Sometime in the future, people will be able to enjoy the fruits of our labors. Mm-hmm. At present, we have assembled about 195 acres after completed land swaps with Fremont County on both sides of the river for almost 2 miles. The thing that is necessary now is to make it accessible to as many people as possible. We have plans in progress to put in a watering system and start growing some trees to make it more aesthetically pleasing, and Mother Nature is doing her part too.
Good.
the story that comes to mind is in one day, a little man came to our office, and he had a bright red pickup truck with a bomb hoist in the back. And he hobbled up to the front door and in. He said he wanted to know where the Riverwalk was. And we told him where it was, and he said, well, I've been waiting all my life to go someplace where I could take my wheelchair and enjoy nature. I had to tell him that he was about 4 years too early. But sometime I hope that we can make a place where people can enjoy nature without vehicles, without cars, and with a minimum of out-of-control dogs, so that they can think quiet thoughts. So.
Okay. No, I think this is a wonderful project that you've been working on for years, you and Tam, and so we're very appreciative of it. We're just trying to, I guess, squeeze the orange as tight as we can to get what we can where we can. You know, we
appreciate the effort, and having been squozed to a pulp.
Well, we get squozed around here quite often, so and some of our projects are major, and we hate to dip into our reserves, but okay. So at any rate, thank you, Alan. We appreciate it. Okay, we have a motion and a second on the floor at this time. Is there further discussion?
Your Honor.
Yes, Councilman Smith.
Just one question in reference to, the recommendation on this item is to approve, even though we need to pull funds out of close to 100,000 out of reserves. And then the next item on the agenda is reject the bid due to lack of funding. Any preference on the two projects on why we can pull 100,000 out of reserves for this project, but then don't have the funding for the next project for the Riverview utility improvement?
Your Honor,
The thinking behind those two?
Yeah, I believe the first one is coming out of general fund reserves, and the second one is out of water.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, I made that same observation. That, at any rate, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. The motion, Mayor votes aye, and motion carries. Okay, Riverview Utility Improvement Project Bid Award. City Administrator's report, please.
Yes, Your Honor. As a part of the YDOT Urban Systems Program, the city is participating with the county in the reconstruction of Riverview Road and Hill Street intersection. Along with this project, the city is reconstructing the water and sewer lines which run along Riverview Road. While this project was being designed, Wedge Fike was approached regarding easements across his property. While these discussions were happening, a look to future capacity of sanitary sewer for the subdivision north of this area was also discussed. This subdivision is densely populated with leach fields. Several people have experienced failures to their septic systems. At some point in the future, their septic systems will need to be abandoned and a sewer main run through their neighborhood for them to tie into. Because of these issues, a sewer line across Mr. Fike's property was desirable and negotiable. Negotiations with Mr. Fike allowed us to acquire an easement for the sewer line. The city contracted with Sage Civil Engineering to prepare plans and specs. This project consists of an installation of an 8-inch PVC sanitary sewer across Fike's property to add capacity to the Riverview road system, along with providing capacity for future development of the Fike property. The project was advertised, 10 contractors signed up, and we received bids. The lowest bid amount was from Viper Underground for $140,300. Staff timed the opening of the bids to correspond with the YDOT letting of the Riverview Road project, thinking that the same contractor might receive both projects. When the Riverview Road award recommendation came from YDOT, estimated cost to the city was more than expected. The amount slated for this project is needed for the utility work on YDOT's Riverview Road project. So therefore, we're requesting that the council reject the bids for this Riverton Utility Improvement Project due to lack of funding.
Okay. Chair would entertain a motion regarding the Riverview Utility Improvement Project.
Your Honor, I'd move that we reject the Riverview Utility Improvement Project bids at this time.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Is there discussion?
Your Honor, just a question for Mr. Weaver. It looks like this was kind of something we threw in hoping we could get what we wanted done for a good price. It's not something that has to be done. Obviously, the Riverview project still goes on. We use our money that we had budgeted towards that. This is just a project that we were thinking, well, maybe we can get lucky, and it looks like we didn't get lucky. Is that a fair statement?
Yeah, Your Honor, that's a fair statement. I think initially the other part we were looking at was actually forming a local improvement district for these people, since why would the city pay for all that infrastructure for people? But even then, to form an improvement district, it would take months to form it, and then we'd also have to carry that amount. So the city would still have to come up with that money, even though we'd be paid back over time. And in the water fund, we got a lot going on in the water fund, and we don't want any additional. And in discussion with Don and ourselves, we really felt like we should just put this off at this time and focus on the ones that are the most important.
Thank you.
Your Honor,
Yes, Councilman Garden.
I can't remember the size of those lots that the Fike subdivision was proposing, but all of them would handle septic, correct? Thank you.
A question that I would have, Mr. Weaver, the two projects, it seems like when we would talk about them in the past, were always linked together. You know, this linkage isn't going to affect the rebuild of Riverview Road in any way, is it?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, good. We will still have the easements with Mr. Fike, is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay, so it'll just be on hold for a while until we feel that more comfortable to do the work. I think that $140,000 bid from Viper is a very good bid, and I wished we could take advantage of it. I've talked to a couple of the other contractors and whatnot, and they were really quite surprised at that bid. So I wished we could take advantage of it, but at any rate, I think the recommendation of the staff is prudent, especially at this time, you know, where we're doing a lot in the water areas. So, okay, is there any other discussion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Mayor votes aye, and motion carries. Okay, agenda item number 12, GF subdivision county plat. Community Development Director's report, please.
Yes, Your Honor. This is a parcel of land that is located within a mile of the city of Riverton. It is called the GF subdivision. It's just barely within the city limits. It is located on Country Acres Road in North 8th West. And our master plan in this area shows it as agricultural. Well, as agricultural, it actually doesn't extend out as, our master plan does not extend out as far as this property is. Fremont County Planning Commission did review this plat on July 25th, and they approved it with no contingencies. The use of this land was questioned at that meeting, but according to the county, the regulations for the proposed use are regulated by the state. There was a concern that there are 30-plus propane tanks positioned on this lot. The county said the state, which I'm assuming to be the Wyoming Fire Prevention and Electrical Safety Department, would require a fence, tanks to be positioned, and other items that they would require. If this property was within the city limits, with this quantity of LP gas, the containers would be required to be in an industrial zone. But as there is no zoning within the county, that's basically not an issue. The City Planning Commission also reviewed this plat on August 1st, and we did receive a petition for several concerned citizens in the area, and some were in attendance at our meeting. They had some valid concerns, but there is no, again, there is no zoning in the county. Therefore, all you are really looking at is the plat itself and whether or not there are appropriate easements and accesses and those types of things, which is what we normally review also within the city limits for a plat. Our chairman Blumenschein explained that this plat is being reviewed for adequacy of easements, access, and land issues only. Approval of the plat cannot be based on the use. We did have a member, Beasley, suggested that those in attendance speak to the county commissioners as proponents for county zoning, even at a basic level.
Okay, thank you. The chair would entertain a motion regarding the GF subdivision.
Your Honor, I move that we approve the GF subdivision plat.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Is there discussion? Please step forward, Doc.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. My name is Samuel Holloway. We live right there within about 300 yards of this particular installation that's going in. We do have 29 signatures of the immediate people around there. I had a call today of some people on the land just to the south of the Fabricius's property. They also requested that their names be put onto the petition that they do not agree this is a good use for that area. I don't know how much your hands are tied. It seems like everybody's hands were tied and couldn't listen to the true concerns of the people in the area. I'll just a quick explanation. It's been used since last year. They've had, I think it was a 20,000 gallon tank sitting there. I've actually seen them unload into them. I've actually seen them load into their delivery trucks. I see no fire extinguishers, no shutdown equipment. The tanks are sitting on the ground. They're not even straight. One of them has a large dent. We have a real concern in that area, something blowing up. A simple spark. And we talk, like I say, we've talked to the county and also the cities, and we'll be going to the county commissioners next. But we have a real concern. This is close to your city limits. This could possibly be in your city limits in the next 5 years. We don't know. The master plan is not out there, but it's coming that way, and we do realize that. So if it's something that you want out there, I don't know. We don't. So we're speaking up and stating what we think. Access was brought up by Sandy Lures. They did not have a true access to the property. They still don't have one. They're going to have to go get it. But yet they've approved this subdivision without a legal access to it. It also brought up the fact on Country Acres. I don't know how many of you's ever driven down Country Acres. It's got that hill right there at the road. When you go over that road, I know when they were hauling gravel and dirt out there, I saw I think three different instances. There was almost a pretty good wreck. Our trucks pulling out, people coming up over that hill pretty fast, and they couldn't see them. And we have talked to the county about getting that fixed. And again, money's the big problem. That hill needs to be removed, and actually they want to put it on the other side. So I guess what we're just saying tonight, we want you to really think hard about this. Your hands may be tied. If you can vote yes or no on it, I mean, it probably meets, quote, subdivision rules, but is it good for the community? Is it good for the neighbors? And that's what we're asking, is just to look at this. So if you have any questions, I have a copy of the petition with me. I have photographs of the area. And right now it's that deep in weeds. This winter, a good cigarette's we're going to have some fun out there. So anyway, we're just bringing this up, and we really want you to think hard on this before you vote on it, because our lives are in danger out there, and we will be proceeding forward as we need to see if we can get this stopped at this time. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to comment on this? Hi, Gerald.
Council, my name is Gerald Coral. I live at 1701 North 8th West. I'm just to the north of the intersection where this subdivision is going in. To me, it is a safety concern. I need some guidance on, to make sure this is put in correct to where it can be a safe facility, because it sounds like, you know, it's a pretty much set deal that the subdivision is going through. But I do have safety concerns. You know, one of the main reasons back in the 80s, if you remember on North or West Main, the propane explosion there, a lot of damage to a motel and office building. I'm close enough to get damaged pretty good if something blows. And these tanks are way bigger than what blew there.
Yes.
Thanks for listening.
Thank you, Mr. Coral. Appreciate it. Sure, come on. Shortly.
Okay, bye. No, Mayor and Council, I'd just like to bring up the fact of what happened in Florida here a couple weeks ago. That was a simple mechanical mistake, a simple spark. And from what I could find out, there was pieces found a mile or more away from those places. 3 guys were killed, or not killed, but they were burnt very, very bad up close to Worland in the oil field. Simple spark, propane leak. So those are some things we really, really think about. Thank you.
Thank you.
Your Honor.
Okay, yes.
Sandy, what's the effect of a no vote from us? I mean, I can't ever remember. It seemed like this was just a courtesy thing that they said, hey, this is within a mile of your city limits. And I know that they have taken suggestions from us in the past, but do we have any right to tell them yes or no? Or I guess if we vote this down, what effect does that have, if any?
I suppose you need a reason to vote it down, and at this point in time, I mean, all you're doing is looking at a plat. At this point in time, you're looking for discrepancies in this plat, for easements and, you know, for irrigation ditches or utilities or those types of things. So all you're basically looking at is a plat. Anyone in the county can buy a piece of property anywhere, and basically if there's no covenants on that piece of property, they can basically put anything that they want to on that piece of property. You don't know really on what they're going to do.
So it's not like the process that we have where you have a plat, and then if they want to do something that's not approved in the current zoning, they have to go through a rezone because there is no zoning in the county.
That is
essentially.
That's exactly correct. Within the city limits, we approve plats on the merit of the plat, just like we normally do, and then depending on who buys it or what they want to do with it, if it's not allowed in that zone, yes, then they go through either a zoning change or something, and that's when we look at it and decide whether it's appropriate or not. Correct.
The city will not have the opportunity to vote no on this again, then, is what I'm hearing you say. That they can, after this replat goes through, then they can do whatever they want to on that property without bringing it to us for approval.
And Your Honor, they can probably do anything on that property right now, even
I understand
without
that,
doing the plat.
But they won't be bringing that forward to us for a discussion again.
Correct.
Okay.
To the best of my knowledge.
Yes.
Your Honor.
Yes.
Councilman Fabian. Would it be possible for us to, you know, vote on the plat based on its merits, but in addition, make some sort of a, you know, letter or something to them asking, you know, to further discuss the use of that piece of property because of the degree of concern that we're hearing from citizens in an area that I think it's legitimate to say might be city property within 5 years. I mean, would that be an option? You know, because quite frankly, we can say no to the plat and the county can say, well, we don't really care and move on. I think we'd be way ahead to say, okay, the plat's fine, but we understand you're planning to use it for this and there's some real concerns.
I would be very I would be very concerned about what damage that might do with our relationship with the county if we're rejecting something that they're presenting to us as a professional courtesy, which they're not required to. And so I would support what you're suggesting. That was a comment that I had. The use of this property is of concern to me, but it appears we are not in any position to do anything about it except express our concern. Would a letter of concern to the county commissioners not be appropriate regarding their lack of any zoning? And so it might be if we could attach something like that, because I certainly share your concerns, Doc and Gerald. But, you know, where it's out in the county, why, we've got precious little authority there. So
could we maybe just authorize Stephen to draft something, you know, that expresses those concerns and
yes.
and send it along with whatever the county gets after our vote?
Okay.
Your Honor.
Yes, Councilman Garden.
I guess I'm somewhat confused. We can put this on Maine and federal and live with it, and we can't put it on North 8th. And I do believe there's been a propane tank there for how many years?
There hasn't been one there for at least 10 years. They've all been gone. The tank down here is 1,000 gallons, I believe.
Yeah.
Am I correct? We're looking at 30,000 out there. 40,000. It depends on what size of tanks they bring in.
I had serious questions when that was approved, so, on Main Street, but.
I think it falls back, Your Honor. I think it falls back on the same fact that we're being asked to approve a plat on property that's owned, that has gone through the proper steps through the county to follow the platting process. Now, if we're always going to stick our finger in everybody's eye on what they can put on their own ground, I don't think that's our job. I think our job is to, and especially if we find this product useful. There's many people in the county that need this product. This isn't something that people don't need. This is a product that people use. And for their use and for their convenience, it has to be somewhere that we can get to fill up tanks. And so, you know, even though this encroaches on the city, and even if the city gobbles it up, we have it already in the city. Now, I'm all for safety devices, but I think that's a problem to concern with those individuals. If they sell this to somebody else, are we going to have to come back and decide if they can run a hay operation at this location because it may generate too much heat and we could have a fire? I don't think there's been a fire on that piece of property as long as I can remember. It grows the same amount of weeds as it does every year in, year out.
That's very true, but you also have a lot of oil field going through there now, way more than normal. And I'm just saying, okay, I'm looking ahead.
I think we've made our point on this, Doc, and so what the council chooses to do at this point.
Your Honor, could I just respond to
certainly
to what Councilman Guard said? I guess what I'm proposing is not a letter saying, please don't allow this facility to go in there, but a letter saying that there are real legitimate concerns from the neighbors about the safety of the piece of property, and to ask that the county see to it that, you know, and by whatever means they need to, that a safe facility is installed there, whatever the type. That was I guess that was what I meant to say.
Your Honor, are we to assume that somebody would go into public business and put an unsafe facility in because we don't regulate it? They don't want the tanks to blow up. Doc says, yeah, they're going to go in there and put it in unsafe, but I don't think they want to lose their product. I don't think they want to see their product go up in a blast either. And so I think that goes back to the same situation everywhere we go, that we had to assume that they'll do a good job of doing business. It's not our job to make every decision. Thank you, Your Honor.
Any other comments?
So, Your Honor, a little clarification. Mr. Fabricius intends to actually sell this piece of property. He's sorting that out from the rest of the land that he owns. Is that correct?
Your Honor, I honestly don't know that.
You don't. So he owns it now. I mean, our note here suggests that he leases it, and maybe he leases it to these folks at the present time and intends to subdivide it and actually sell it to them.
That's what we're assuming, Your Honor.
Okay. I think this is, you know, if the city decided at some point in time that we wanted to enforce zoning beyond the city limits, you know, the state statute allows us to do that.
I agree.
Okay. But we we haven't approached that with a great deal of enthusiasm, have we?
Doesn't seem like it, no.
Oh.
I'm wondering, and perhaps you can answer, Ms. Lures, would it be advantageous or helpful to the city if the county did have some zoning regulations? So that when we run into a situation like this, and if we could use this as an example to encourage them to look at zoning, or would it make any difference?
Yes, Your Honor, of course.
Okay.
I mean, that's something, you know, that I suppose half the people want and half the people don't. I mean, you realize when you go into the county, I mean, there's a lot of areas that it would be very advantageous to have had some zoning. And I'm sure there's a lot of neighbors that would have liked to, but there's probably equally as many that don't want the regulation.
Yeah.
And just for the record, if he wasn't subdividing this, he could go in and put as many propane tanks on there as he wanted to as it is. Am I wrong?
Your Honor, exactly. I mean, there is no zoning. Now, I believe the state probably regulates this. I'm not sure how they go about it, but I know within the city limits we have, when they put the propane facility, they go through the state and make sure that they're complying with all the regulations. I mean, I have through the NFPA, they have the regulations for how they have to install the propane tanks, how large they can be, how far away from property lines, a lot of those things. And so we've gone through a lot of that with the ones within the city limits. And I would assume that the state probably would regulate those out there. And, you know, I'm not aware of whether they have or haven't contacted the state on that yet.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we have a motion and a second on the floor regarding the GF subdivision. Would you want to amend that motion to include a letter? See if that will.
I would be willing to amend the motion and just ask that a letter be sent saying that certain neighbors have safety concerns with the proposed use of the project, and asking the commissioners to please take the time to listen to them.
Is there a second for that?
I'll second it.
Okay. It's been moved and seconded to amend the original motion. All those in favor of the amendment signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Do you have the numbers, Courtney?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mayor votes aye on that amendment. Okay, back to the original motion regarding the GF subdivision. That motion failed, or passed, I'm sorry. The original motion regarding the GF subdivision with the amendment. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Mayor votes aye. Motion carries. Okay. Did you get enough direction on that letter, Stephen, to put something together? Okay, thank you. Okay, agenda item number 13, Michael Swegler, Variance, Community Development Director's Report, please.
Yes, Your Honor. This is regarding a parcel of land in the Broadacres subdivision. The total acreage of this lot is approximately 0.787 of an acre. This lot does have a double frontage, meaning that the home accesses actually from Broadacres Drive, but the lot continues to the west where it meets the right-of-way along College View Drive. So it's defined as a double frontage lot. A double frontage lot requires a 20-foot setback on both the front and rear yards facing each street. This property is zoned BGA, which allows for 1 livestock unit per half acre. This lot allows for only 1 livestock unit. A little more background. In March of 2010, Mr. Swegler was informed that he was using the city right-of-way, city property, for unauthorized uses of the city property per the municipal code. Staff was concerned at this time with the weight of the hay and the vehicles on the utilities located in the right-of-way. Citizens were also concerned about the appearance of the property on a very busy collector street. Mr. Swegler did comply with the request from the city and to remove the items from the city property. Mr. Swegler is now requesting several variances. The first one, he's requesting a variance to construct an arena using 5-foot-high panels that would be approximately 20 to 25 feet into the city-owned property, which is part of the right-of-way on College View Drive, and approximately 10 foot from the street. There's a very large right-of-way for College View Drive, and the larger portion of this right-of-way is on the east side of College View. They said that the panels would be set up from the ground on posts, so the fence would be taller than 5 feet. The fence height requirement in the municipal code is that a fence cannot exceed 48 inches within 8 foot of a property line. This happens to be within approximately 28 foot of the property line. Our utilities division manager had some concern regarding the existing utilities in the right-of-way. We did get a little more information that I didn't have for the Planning Commission. The irrigation line is very shallow, and she had some concern that the weight of a horse could break through, and it could be a danger to the horse as well as damage to the line. The sewer line is very deep, and if this did have to be accessed at some time to be repaired or replaced, most of that right-of-way would have to be utilized in order for that excavation to take place. Staff also had concern that this may be setting a precedent and others would request using city property for their own uses. The other variances that Mr. Swegler was requesting, the side yards, he's also would like to build a barn on this property, and he would like to have the barn placed less than the 5-foot setback requirement that's allowed on a side yard. And also, let's see, I think he wanted 2 feet on that. Yeah, 2 feet. And then on the College View side, which needs to be 20 foot from the property line, he was requesting that it be 19 foot from the property line on the west. The third item was a concrete pad which would cross the city right-of-way. He's also proposing for a driveway from College View through to Broad Acres, so that they would be able to drive through from College View to Broad Acres or the other direction. Staff had some concern regarding this driveway, some of it for the same reasons. One of the other reasons we would try to avoid more access points on collector streets. Collector streets are more thoroughfares and people tend to drive quicker on these streets. The driveway that was allowed up the street to the north was brought up, and this was only for access to a parking pad for an RV. It's not a driveway through that will be utilized very often. The continuous use of a driveway over the large utilities in this easement is definitely a concern. We're afraid that the driveway may cause sewer or irrigation lines to fail, and if that did happen, Mr. Swegler would be responsible for the cost of repair. The Planning Commission did review this variance on July 11th, and they recommended allowing the fence height to be taller than the code allows, but they recommended that the setback requirement should be adhered to. Pursuant to the driveway, they had no recommendation. However, it is staff's recommendation to deny the driveway based on the above information. We do have alternatives to this, to either allow any or all of the variances or allow the construction of the driveway across the utility. That's all I have, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Lewis. Appreciate it. The chair would entertain a motion regarding the Michael Swegler variance at this time. Chair would entertain a motion regarding the Michael Swegler variance at this time.
Your Honor, the recommendation from the city is to deny. Can we have further discussion on those three setbacks for denial? Or do we have to make a motion
I think we
first?
need to have a motion in order to get it on the floor.
Your Honor, I'd
so
make a
that-
motion
Okay,
to approve the
Second.
zoning variance.
okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve the variance at this time. Discussion?
Your Honor,
Yes, Councilman
is
Gardner?
there any movement that we can, from what I'm understanding, is this a drive-through the barn to Broadway?
Would you come up to the podium, please, and state your name and for the record? We'll get you on the camera here.
Michael Swegler.
Okay.
What it is she has a horse trailer, and right now we have to back into the drive. And I was trying to plan the barn to where she could drive through when she pulls in the horses and drive through. And, you know, it's mostly going to be access going in and through the barn and parking on our side of the Broad Acres side.
Not on the other side.
Yeah.
It would never be backing in.
Okay.
And so my question is, more than likely, you're always going to have either gates closed through the barn or something parked there, so it isn't general access through to Broad Acres.
Oh, no, it wouldn't be. It would be it's a private drive. The barn door will be closed. And that will prevent access through.
My next question is, why can't we, you're 50 by 48, can you go back 19 feet and get past the variance on the barn on the College View side to get to
Well, I'm kind
20
of
feet?
crammed in there. What I'm trying to do is squeeze as much in as I can, because the arena, if we're approved for the arena, which, I mean, they're panels so that they're see-through, so that as far as blockage of the road, I don't think there'll be any problem there. The way I have, because I know that there's kind of a hill, and it is, like I said, the irrigation ditch, I know it's down there, I don't know where, but we've been driving on it for the last 5 years and had horses back there anyway, before we were told we couldn't do that. And I'm going to, if I do it, I'm going to bring it up to grade. I'm going to basically bring in dirt and make it to the height of that. So there's going to be probably a 3-foot buildup on top of that to make it level. And as far as, like I say, everything else is, I don't think, it's going to be packed with pretty hard dirt, and then basically have a 4-inch, chip rock on top of that, so.
Talking about the barn side.
Well, the barn side is, I think I'm 19 foot from my property line, and actually it might even be 20 foot. I'm not really sure. I'd have to really get out there and find out where the property line is to figure out exactly where that is. I kind of guesstimated around 19 foot. But I don't, like I say, I don't know what there's plenty of access on the backside on the west side. And like I say, this piece of property that's been back there has mostly been weeds and it's been just an eyesight. And I thought when we put the horses back there, which ate down the weeds and the hay back there, it actually looked the best, I thought, as long as I've lived there. And the city said they were trying to improve the looks of it, and I thought, well, it looks better now than it's ever looked, so I don't get it. So now I'm trying to just go by what the city wants to do, but I think the arena and the way we plan to do it, I think it'll look nice. And like I say, the areas around us, there's horses across the field, there's horses next to us, and there's just fields around us. So
The reason I question that is if we move a foot, and you do need to find the property line and know where it's at so that you can construct and get either the variance or get on your own property.
Right.
And so 1 foot at that direction, and you're asking for 2 feet on the north.
Well, I would be, like I say, I've heard that they've allowed 3 foot, and like I say, 3 foot would be, if I could get 3 foot, that would be fine. And the only reason I was doing that is because there is already
an existing structure that's already there.
Right, with a basement in it. And so I was trying to line it up with that.
There's already pre-existing foundation?
There is a pre-existing.
And you're trying to sit on part of that and use it?
No, I'm trying to stay as close to that as I can. That's about 2 foot off the fence line right now where it is. And I was just trying to line it up with it, that's all.
Okay, and so you understand my thought process. From my understanding, there was no complaints from Broad Acres residents. Is that correct?
Oh, I'm sorry. No, there were none.
There were none. And so, from my standpoint, very often I go in and fall on my knees and try to get variances from one side to the other. And if you move a foot to the east and I would suggest 3 feet to the south with your barn, you're inside the requirements. Are we correct? Sandy, does that make us correct on those 2 points?
If he's 5 foot from the property line and 20 foot from the other one, yes, then that would be.
And so we would be
That's
in
what
compliance on both of those.
Yes, correct.
Well, not on the 3 foot side, because I'd be 2 foot within.
Well, she's saying 5 foot from the property line. That's the.
Right, I'm trying to go three
See-
foot. I was trying to go 2 foot just to line it up with the that shop. But like say, if they would allow 3 foot, I would take that and just kind of jog it into it.
And I'm trying to get your barn built.
Yeah.
And so, what I'm trying to point out
lines
is
is what I'm
if we move those variances, if we move those positions, you don't need a variance.
Right.
Right.
And you can build there.
Right.
So, that's my suggestion, that you do those movements, and the arena, I would assume, is on posts and the panels between posts.
Right. It's
Correct.
moved. It's not permanent.
So if we have damage, we'll be able
There'll
to
be
pick up
free
the
ac-
arena.
There will be access
Yeah,
and that we
we'll
explain
pick up
that
the
to
arena and dig through the access, even if we determine it's your problem, our problem,
Right.
whoever's problem,
Right.
that's not a real problem. I guess I have horses. I think horses are gorgeous. Mine could stand right next to the highway and they would be really pretty. So would the Chiefs. The difference being is many people don't. And so, I see just a 10-foot setback to the fence in the arena. And is that right to the curb?
No, it'd be 10 foot from the curb.
10 foot from the back of the curb.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah,
So,
on city property.
right, on city property. And so,
The temporary, it's not a permanent structure, it's just a temporary.
just
I mean,
temporary,
That's
the
why
the arena would be.
removal.
And I suppose because of your ability, that 66 feet has some purpose in lunging or something that you're doing, isn't it?
I'm just trying to go as big as I possibly can. That's not, I mean, it would be adequate to ride, yeah.
She does eventing, and so there'd be like jumping, just little jumps in there and stuff. I mean, it would give her enough to where she could do it.
And there are no sidewalks from the back of that curb?
Correct.
I just point out that's a lot of variances to ask for on other people's property. And so what my suggestion was is maybe if you pull your building a little bit, you're only asking for a variance on your fence. And that may sail better. So that
Well,
would be my
and
suggestion.
I mean, that would be easy. I mean, I could do that. I guess, my thought is if I understood if I was in a residential where there's houses up against each other, I could see where I definitely have to apply, to this 5 foot and the 20 foot. But seeing how there was fields next to me and there's also a water easement with a little concrete piece in there, I don't think that, like say, even if I went 3 foot, I don't see any, like say, it's just open fields next to me.
I had one other question. Have you checked in the overhead power lines?
Yeah, I'm
Where
supposed to
your
be
easements
within
lie?
10 foot, they said, from the power lines, and we'd have to measure that too, but you've got to be so many feet away from it. So, and this barn would be within that.
What's the height of your barn?
It's going to be a 2-story type of thing. It's going to have like a shop above it, so I don't have the approximate height of it. It'll be pretty tall, because it'll have 10 foot, probably walls on the side panel, and then 8 foot above that, so, plus your floor, so it's going to be pretty good.
And I think you'd be wise to check that power line easement to
Yeah,
make sure.
I have checked on that.
And if you're sure on that, then I think the only other thing that breaks down is that driveway off of College View. And I think the city has some legitimate concerns of driving over their utilities and those things. And so,
Like I say, we've been driving over that for quite some time. And actually, I think with the drive concrete there, that would be even more supportive to where it wouldn't do anything to the utilities.
you don't have a curb cut there, correct?
No, and I wouldn't worry about it. I wouldn't put a curb cut, because it's not going to be, it's just going to be access for her pulling in her trailer. So it's not meant to be just driving in and out of all the time. It's basically just access in.
Well, and to finish up my line of logic, the neighbors that live next to it have no problems. The Broad Acres, when I was a kid, was designed to be able to have horses and animals and have larger lots and setbacks to allow people to do that. And although I do understand people's concerns, this is legitimately a city property, correct? It is not an easement through their property.
That's right, city property.
So we're talking about 25 feet of, actually 35 feet of city property.
Something similar to that, yes, sir.
And so I would be a voice of one, but I think that's asking a lot of easements on somebody else's property. And
well, the reason I'm saying it, I think it would make it look nicer, and it'd be less hassle for the city to have to maintain it, because if you look at what I'm trying to do, I'm going to put gravel on the outside of that to where it looks just more, I'm tired of the weeds. I mean, if you guys put grass back there, I probably wouldn't worry about it. You know, make it look like the front there, and it'd be great, but right now it's just...
We only send out weed notices to individuals, not the city.
Well, and I've been trying to, like I say, I've been trying to keep the weeds down because it's just an eyesore constantly. And I think the arena and the driveway would clean it up. And like I say, the easement goes all the way down the Sunset, and there's grass all the way out to the curbs. And so it's already been driven on. It's already been, all the way down. I don't think I'm any more than anyone else down the street. And I think I'm far enough away from Main Street to where I don't think it's going to be, the main traffic is in the morning time and 5 o'clock. That's really the main traffic. The rest of the time is pretty much low keyed and just like any other side street. So
when you go to the picture though, that shows your haystack and a horse trailer and a truck, there's got to be, in that picture, there's got to be all of the 35 feet. And what you're proposing is a 10-foot, your fence would be clear out to 10 feet off of that curb.
Right.
And I, I'm one that likes horses and I don't see that as a great problem, but a 10-foot easement there, if we're leaving the public 10 feet of their 35 feet, I think if we were reversed and I wanted to put 35 feet of my property onto yours, I think you'd be seeing my side just a little bit better. And so
it depends on if it was usable or not. I mean, if it's just dirt, seriously, without irrigation or something, it's just land.
And there's not a lot of foot traffic down this section.
No,
and that does surprise me because, cross-country teams run through there and back to the school, and it would be a really nice place if we would put a sidewalk in there.
That would be nice.
That would be nice. Sidewalks are expensive. We're already at that loggerheads there. But, I could see supporting your request mainly because I don't see any objection from the subdivision. And yet, I think I'm just one vote, and I think you're on somebody's property pretty hard. Thank you, Mayor.
Your Honor.
Is there anyone else who would like to comment? Yes, Councilman Fabian.
I guess I see a couple of issues. Ultimately, this is a city easement for a reason because there's utilities there.
Right.
And, when you're talking about putting a concrete driveway across there when the sewer line under that breaks, does the city get to come tear up your concrete driveway?
They do the same thing down their line.
And then
tear up the lines down the street.
And then the city has to pay to replace it?
I don't think so.
No, the easement they'd have to pay.
Okay, so in the easement you would have to.
Maybe cut the concrete out and then do the work, and then the people were probably responsible for putting back the concrete again.
And then I guess the second question is, and forgive me, I'm not familiar with horse arenas per se, but is it like a T-post that you're putting in, or is it a...
No, I'd probably put in like 5-inch poles, and it would basically just be panels that just could be taken out and put in. And there'll be gates on it if the city ever needs to get in there for access. It's all accessible, and you can always pull a post off or pull a panel out, and you just got a 16-foot wide open space between the poles.
And do we have any idea where the irrigation line lives in that?
I know where they are. And I know exactly where the irrigation is.
So where is it? Is it outside of the arena area or within it?
It's directly, it goes probably, I would say, 5 foot from my property line is about 5 to foot
So it's probably between
on
this,
the
for the street.
west side of that.
Fairly deep. That's where that irrigation box.
So almost right where the,
This is an irrigation box right there.
okay, gotcha.
Probably about
I guess, I mean, I don't know. I understand your side of it because I agree. I think that the city needs to do a better job of keeping our weeds mowed if we're going to expect our citizens to do that. And I, absolutely agree with that. On the other hand, it is city property, and, there are other pieces of city property that we do allow, other uses for, but those people pay us a lease fee. Now, some of them are a $1 a year lease, and some of them are more, and it depends on the use. But in the end, it's ultimately public property, and it's public property for a legitimate reason. And I guess that's my biggest hold up here.
Can I ask if is that easement all the way to Sunset?
I do not know the answer.
It varies in there. I do know that. It varies, and I'm not exactly sure. It moves over and it actually narrows down, but I'm not sure.
Because that would be my question there, is because you've got all the neighbors down line that are basically on that same line as the easement, and so I guess the city has given up a lot of this land all the way down to Sunset in the same space. So,
Your Honor, from the Big Wyoming subdivision would be a whole nother classification of lot descriptions. And like Sandy's pointed out, those houses are facing the right direction.
correct.
And so their setbacks will be different than what your setbacks are. And your setbacks were never designed to have a road behind you. You're the beneficiary of a nice big road that wasn't there in the original planning. And so now it looks like something that you might want to access off of, but it was never intended to access your property off that portion. That's why they never put any curb cuts in. And this 35 feet is a spike strip to control access and to control for the city, control to what happens to the east side of College View. And they can.
Right, and like I say, I mean, the arena, there would be access to it, and it's not permanent, so it's all removable if it needs to be.
Okay.
Up to be, allow whatever needs to be done there.
Are there any other comments by any other councilman?
Your Honor,
Yes.
just a couple questions.
Councilman Christensen.
So how many years have you been at this location?
25 plus.
What is it?
25 plus.
Okay, I was wondering if you're the same couple or not. So you've been there for years. Any problems with animal injuries, going through the irrigation, anything like that? I guess I have another question about the access to the right-of-way for a neighbor. There's another driveway where that RV is parked.
I believe it's 2 houses down.
2 houses. So how often do you pull it in and out?
Well, she uses
right now.
it.
I don't.
You don't?
Well,
Okay.
I can't. Well, I mean, I can't.
Well, but if you,
But
you go every day with the horse trailer?
I probably haul 3 to 4 days a week. It just depends on whether I'm usually gone on the weekends and all over to land or whatever, a couple days a week. So maybe, probably 3-4 days a week, probably max.
Okay. And I've been here 40-something years, so I remember this the haystack, and any problems with that or any complaints from neighbors or. Do we know how many times those other folks pull in and out? That have the right, that we give them right away, permission for the right away?
Your Honor, probably when they go camping. I drive by there all the time, but and I'm not even sure of the new owners because they recently sold that property again, so I don't even know if they're going to have a camper
I
there.
just,
But
it's if we do it for 1, 2 doors down, I just, it's my thinking. I've never seen any problems there myself.
I don't think we'll ever.
But I always kind of look to see if the horse is out or if there's a house. And thank you.
Any other councilman? Baker?
Your Honor, has there ever been any discussion about, rent? I mean, it is city property, and so then maybe if there's some kind of an actual lease arrangement that, was involved, that might address some of the issues that are here. And I mean, I'm not looking at it as a profit center for the city of Riverton, as much as I am that there's some kind of a legal agreement that goes beyond the variance. I guess from my standpoint, I don't have a lot of heartburn about the temporary panels to expand the area that you would be using. I don't have a lot of heartburn actually about driving across it, where you are made aware of liability with regards to any damage that you would do to the system. And so I don't see that that's so much of a problem. I think I do go along with Councilman Guard's position that it would simply be much cleaner and easier to design your structure so that it meets current requirements, rather than try to get some kind of a variance there. When we talk about a variance that looks like, say, that something that's temporary, then that variance works out in my mind fairly easily. When we're talking about something that is a permanent structure, then I think that is difficult. And part of the reason that they put those setbacks in place is to minimize the ability of a fire from one structure to spread to the next one.
Well, that's why being on the property that I am is different than a residential, because we have acres there.
Yes, but somebody could next to you could also build a building, and then he could say, well, this guy didn't follow the setback, so I don't have to follow the setback. Now we have
the canal bank that right there.
See, okay, well, all right. So the issues. I understand the reason why we have setbacks on property, and we do that is to slow the spread of fire from one piece of property to another when buildings catch on fire, and that's why the city of Chicago burned to the ground. 100 years ago that was, or maybe it's longer now, but at any rate, the Great Chicago Fire was all, that was really the impetus for that kind of regulation in construction. So I guess that's, so I don't know how to structure this motion. I'm not going to vote for it the way it's currently here.
Your Honor, just a point of order. It'd probably be best if we voted on the one on the motion on the table, and then.
Well, could we amend it in some way so that we would?
But if you amend it, then.
It seems to me that I agree with Councilman Guard, and I'm going to inject into the conversation here. It seems to me like we've got three different variances going at the same time, and it would be a lot cleaner if we were to separate these all out and vote on them by individual ones, and then we could have that kind of a discussion. I may be very supportive of the access across. I don't have a lot of heartburn over that one. I don't have a lot of heartburn, but any rate, it just seems to me like that might be something that would be worthwhile, rather than just accepting the council's recommendation right now to decline all three of them. There may be part of it that we would be supportive of. So,
Your Honor, just to clarify, I think the motion was actually to approve all three. So that's why I'm saying
the motion is to approve all three.
Yeah.
And
so, Ms. Bolander, are we correct to probably go with the motion that we have right now, and then if we're going to separate things out, we can do that after it's either voted down or up?
Vote this down.
Certainly, or you can just do away with the motion because it hasn't been stated by the chair. So if Councilwoman Christensen would like to take her motion back with approval of the seconder, which would be Mr. Guard, then you could start over.
I'll be glad to pull my second.
Okay.
Your Honor, I would be glad to withdraw the original amendment.
Okay.
Original motion, I'm sorry.
Okay, and then what is the procedure to separate this out? Accept a motion for each individual variance? Which one do you want to start with?
Do we need to vote down this?
No, it got pulled.
You just pulled it, yeah. So the
So
variance,
Your Honor, let's start with the easy one,
okay,
maybe. I move that we allow the variance for vehicular access across the city right-of-way.
Second.
okay, it's been moved and seconded. Is there further discussion on that one?
Just to clarify, the access, we're then allowing the concrete to be put in there, correct? Okay, and that
That's my
is,
understanding.
and you're aware, Mr. Swegler, if we come and tear it up, it's your responsibility to put it back. Okay?
I do also have a question. Do we have any idea how shallow that irrigation line really is?
Prior to them putting in that concrete, we will find out what that is for sure, and because they'll need to get a permit, it'll have to have an encroachment permit, and we will require one of our staff to go and make sure that that's not going to be put in then and will damage that utility.
Your Honor. Oh,
Go ahead.
I was going to, Your Honor, Don just said it's about 1 foot deep.
And it's a PVC pipe, is that my understanding, or is it cement?
I'm not sure, Your Honor.
Okay.
Your Honor,
Yes, Councilman Carr.
we could easily request at the same time that whatever they're driving over, that portion be replaced with concrete. Who is the ditch owner?
I would presume the city is, isn't it?
Yes, I believe it's the city.
City's ditch? It's not one of the irrigation company's
No,
ditch?
it's Leclerc.
Excuse me?
It's Leclerc.
Leclerc's ditch? It would surprise me if it's the city's ditch. It's not the ditch when it's the same, what goes around your house.
Yeah, it's Leclerc.
It's Leclerc's. So I would think that you would need to have clarification from Leclerc to what that pipe would need to be to drive over.
That makes sense.
And it wouldn't be difficult to change that piece that was underneath the concrete. And we could put that in the motion, that needed to be brought up to grade to their standards. And
I don't know that that's where the problem is, though, from my thinking. If you put a concrete slab over the ditch, then it's going to protect it by definition. It's the rest of the pipe that's going to be tromped on by horses
Yeah,
all the
like I say,
time.
we've had
It's
horses
where the
back-
potential problem is.
Had horses back there, and I'm in bring the ground, actually, the ground will be even higher above the ditch by the time I'm done, because I'm gonna put it at the crest of the height of whatever that hill is there, bring it up, so there'll actually be more. And I think what's the base gonna be? What was the base gonna be?
The reject sand?
No, oh, is that what it is? Reject sand on top, and then on top of that, chip rock.
Your Honor?
Yes.
May I make a statement? We need to do a permit or do something, because if he's going to be altering city property, I really believe we need to have a little bit of say in that.
I agree.
I mean, Mr. Swegler is recommending doing some things to city property that I think we need to make sure that we're okay with Public Works and
Talked
that
about
type
that
of
at the
thing.
variance committee meeting as well.
it would need to have
With the
drainage.
Public Works
It
and
would
that.
need to have drainage, which everything else would be required to have drainage, correct?
Right.
Are you speaking the variance? You got it? You got the verbiage?
No, we have a motion and a second.
We've got a motion and a second on the floor right now regarding access on this.
Okay, and do we need, in that motion, do we need to say that this has to meet all pertinent city code regulations?
Doesn't it have to regardless?
Or do we assume that that's the case?
Contingent upon approval by building department and Leclerc.
Owner of the ditch.
So,
I don't think you're gonna hurt anything to put that in there, Your Honor.
okay, so should I restate my motion? Is that what I ought to do? I move that we allow the variance for access across the city right-of-way to the backside of their property, providing that it can be done in such a way that it satisfactorily meets the requirements of the irrigation ditch company, city code, any other pertinent ordinances that might be involved.
Second.
Is that?
Did you get that all, Courtney?
No. But like Bill, I'll make it up as I go along.
But you got the gist.
Thank goodness for cameras.
Okay.
Okay. Would that work for you guys? Okay. All right, we've got a motion and a second on the floor then to approve the variance for the access contingent upon its approval by the building department and the clerk. So all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Same sign. Motion carries. Mayor votes aye. Okay, and then next is the variance on the garage? Or have we decided? I'm sorry?
Setback.
Setback on the fence.
Setback on the fence. You're able to solve the garage problem then, so we're taking it off the table. Is that my understanding?
Yeah, that's your third one.
That'll be the third one. If you're taking them in the order that they're listed here, the second one.
I guess I'm taking them in order that feel comfortable with them.
Oh, okay.
The one that
okay, yeah,
that I have the most heartburn with is the fence side of the equation. I've lived in Riverton for years. I love horses, but I'm a city boy, not a country boy. And it just seems to me as I look at this property that we're talking about here, and the picture down through that area, when you bought your property and as our community is growing, that the area that it's in now is becoming more and more residential. And what we're doing here is turning it back more and more country. And I
just matching the land around me is all.
No, I understand. Let me finish. But with our new hospital going in, that travel on that road is going to increase. That goes to our schools. That goes to our hospital. We've got a lot of very nice residential area up in that area. Your zoning of BGA, it's certainly legal according to our zoning plans to allow for horses in that area. But I personally feel that this is kind of an anachronism, that it's something from years past. And so I'm not wildly enthusiastic about taking one of our major collector streets that goes into this area and put horse panels and, temporary things out into that much of an easement personally. But I also recognize that if we're going to consider not allowing it, then it's the city's responsibility, I think, to do as you've suggested and to make it a nice green space like we have on the highway, and get some grass in there and maybe put some trees in there so that it does come up to the quality that I can envision for that street. But and I have nothing at all against horses. I've lived in Wyoming all my life. I've never owned a horse, never had a desire to, and so it's just one of those things. But I'm not opposed to them. But I'm just feeling that this is one of our major collector streets, and you look down that street, we're coming right off of our highway, and we're going to look at putting horse panels out 25 feet into that easement area. I just have a lot of problem with that, and I probably won't vote for it. The other easements and whatnot or variances that you're talking about, I don't have a lot of problem with. I understand you're needing to get through there, and have access off of College View, and so.
Your Honor?
Yes.
I just wanted to add something. I mean, I understand that this is a beautiful neighborhood, but it is zone BGA, and
it is.
We're talking agriculture or country versus city, but I just gotta say, chicken coops. We're allowing chicken coops all over the city. Yeah. So this is, we are the country in some senses.
Oh, I hear you.
It's one horse.
And I hope if we get that big in the city to where we stop allowing things, then.
Yeah. Can I just make a comment also? The arena is actually, I don't know if you've ever seen dressage riders or jump. I mean, the arena is actually just to ride in. The horses doesn't live in the arena. I will have jumps set out there. I usually try to ride early in the morning in the summertime before it gets too hot. And actually, my horse is very well taken care of. I don't know, I kind of feel like it feels like it's like, oh, there's just the horses. Well, there's horses across the street. There's horses all over Riverton. I have one singular horse that actually I want to live in a nice barn and to have a nice arena and to have very nice manicured areas around my property, my barn. You know, to me, it's actually, I think, I've had tons of people actually pull over and actually stop and just say, oh my gosh, your horse is so beautiful, and just ask me questions. And so, you know, I mean, I understand in a sense, but right across the street are about 5 or 6 straggly looking animals that are my horse's neighbors. And so, you know, the riding arena, actually, it would very much be an improvement to the back side of that property. I mean, we had already looked into that 10-foot would actually be a space that actually could be driven up onto if needed to, and it would have a gravel base that would just be very nice and maintained, no weeds. We would take care of that. And then the arena would be it would not have any weeds in it. I don't allow weeds in my arena. It would be disc, it would be taken care of. You know, it would be very manicured, and it would definitely be an improvement to the property, not in any way take away from it. It would definitely make it nicer.
Is there any way that you can get the arena over across the street?
I wish I could.
That piece
Actually,
of
we've been bugging Garland Samuelson, and he won't sell it.
That'd make us all happy.
Well, he would sell it to me, but he wants it way too much for it.
So, anyway.
Point of order, do we have a motion on the floor right now? I don't think we do.
We do not have.
Your Honor, I would make a motion to allow the variance for the arena contingent on a lease agreement for the city property, similar to what we've done with Mr. Hayes with grazing where the shooting area was, something like that.
Second.
Okay. It's been moved and seconded. Is there discussion on that motion?
I think we've had quite a bit.
I don't disagree, but let's.
Your Honor, we charge about 17 cents a square foot for leased ground up at the airport. I think the agreement with Mr. Hayes is $50 a year, I think is what we're.
Yeah, so it would be an insignificant amount of money. Okay. Okay, we have a motion and a second on the floor. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Mayor votes aye. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, the third variance then that we were talking about is the garage. And is that something that you feel you can work around and not require a variance, as Councilman Guard was suggesting?
You know, I suppose I could get by with that. Like I say, I'm more trying to figure out what I mean, it doesn't make sense to me for some reason.
So we don't have to have a variance for the barn.
Well, I think Councilman.
A couple-foot smaller building would do it too.
To make your.
Well, and that's what it is, but like I say, I'm trying to, she wants stalls and wash bay. I want a little shop for my own self, and so I'm just trying to figure out how to compromise on both horse and my side of it. And
a couple feet isn't gonna do.
If you make it 47 by 47 and keep the back corner where it is, you've got everything within the guidelines, and you're only losing like a couple hundred square at most, less than a couple hundred.
I don't think I can get 45, but
okay.
So.
Okay.
Why don't you just call it a chicken coop and it'll be just fine.
Yeah, call it a chicken coop. Okay.
Your Honor, I think we need to make a motion on that third one.
I would move that we deny the variance on the barn setbacks.
Okay.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to deny the variance regarding the building of the barn and the encroachment. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. That variance is denied. Okay, and then we have ordinance number This is agenda item number 14, ordinance number 13-006, third and final reading, driver's license requirements. Would the city clerk please read the ordinance number by title only?
Yes, Your Honor. This is proposed ordinance number 13-006 on third and final reading. An ordinance revising section 10.12.030 of the Riverton Municipal Code, creating the offense of driving under suspension and repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict therewith and providing for an effective date.
Thank you. The chair would entertain a motion regarding ordinance number 13-006.
Your Honor, I'd move to approve ordinance 13-006 on third and final reading.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Is there discussion? Would the city clerk please conduct the roll call?
Yes, Your Honor. Councilman Todd Smith.
Yes.
Councilman Jonathan Fabian.
Yes.
Councilman Rich Guard.
Yes.
Councilman Eric Heiser.
Yes.
Councilwoman Mary Ellen Christensen.
Yes.
Councilman John Lars Baker.
Yes.
Mayor Ron Warpness.
Yes. Okay, agenda item number 15, ordinance number 13-007, third and final reading, auto insurance requirements. Would the city clerk please read ordinance 13-007 by title only?
Yes, Your Honor. This is proposed ordinance number 13-007 on third and final reading. An ordinance amending Chapter 10.12 with the addition of Section 10.12.170 of the Riverton Municipal Code, requiring drivers of motor vehicles to have liability insurance and repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict therewith and providing for an effective date.
Okay, the chair would entertain a motion regarding ordinance number 13-007.
Your Honor, I'd make a motion to pass motion numbers 13-007.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Is there discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Or be a roll call.
I'm sorry. Roll call.
Councilman John Lars Baker.
Yes.
Councilwoman Mary Ellen Christensen.
Yes.
Councilman Eric Heiser.
Yes.
Councilman Rich Guard.
Yes.
Councilman Jonathan Fabian.
Yes.
Councilman Todd Smith.
Yes.
Okay. Motion passes. Agenda item number 16, ordinance number 13-008, third and final reading, updating language in RMC to coincide with the Wyoming state statutes. Would the city clerk please read the ordinance by title only, please?
Yes, Your Honor. Proposed ordinance number 13-008, an ordinance revising section 10.08.010 of the Riverton Municipal Code, updating the language to reflect the current Wyoming state statutes and repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict therewith and providing for an effective date.
Okay, the chair would entertain a motion regarding ordinance number 13-008.
Your Honor, I move that we pass ordinance number 13-008 on third and final reading.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Is there a discussion? Would the city clerk please conduct a roll call vote?
Yes, Your Honor. Councilman Rich Guard.
Yes.
Councilman Jonathan Fabian.
Yes.
Councilman Todd Smith.
Yes.
Councilman Eric Heiser.
Yes.
Councilwoman Mary Ellen Christensen.
Yes.
Councilman John Lars Baker.
Yes.
Mayor Ron Warpness.
Yes. Okay, agenda item number 17, property liquidation, vacant parcel on East Jackson. City Administrator's report, please.
Yes, Your Honor. HomeSource has been listing the old hospital property, and on August 1st, we received an offer in the amount of $9,500 for approximately 7,380 square feet. After real estate fees, the net proceeds from the sales estimated to be about $8,105. Attached to this is the contract along with the net proceeds sheet. The offer states that the appraisal and survey will be split between the city and Caprine Investments. This property is located right next to the veterans home, and I think what they're planning to use it for is a garden. And just a little background, we've sold 4 lots to Habitat for $41,000. They ranged anywhere from $8,000 to $12,000. The city also sold the property where the veterans home is for $20,000. And in discussions with an appraiser, he felt like the price, since we gave it to a nonprofit, even though they were somewhere between 8 and 12, was somewhat of a gift. So he necessarily doesn't say that that's exactly what the price would be. So my initial recommendation was to accept this offer. I guess I've changed my mind in the fact that I think we should counteroffer for somewhere between about $18,000, between $18,000 and $20,000. I think that's more in line with what those parcels are worth. Obviously, the city invested a lot of money with that hospital property, and there's no way we're going to become whole with that, but it'd be nice to get something out of it instead of barely anything. So I guess my recommendation would be somewhere between $18,000 and $20,000.
Okay. The chair would entertain a motion regarding the property liquidation on East Jackson.
Your Honor, I would move that we counter offer for $20,000.
Is there a second?
I'll second to get to discussion.
Okay.
Your Honor, this is a private individual?
Yes, Your Honor.
And it's the same individual who owns the lot directly to the north?
Yes.
Right?
Well, where the veterans home sits.
Right. So I guess my question is it to the west? So I'm on the wrong side. Okay, so to the west, is he not operating a nonprofit? I mean, if we're gonna if that's what our appraiser's telling us, that's the reason we gave Habitat such a great deal. If he's a nonprofit, then I'm not really sure we can look to take that kind of money from him. I mean, it's you could make the same argument. You could say that just as much as the Habitat homes served a purpose, this veterans home, when it's done, is going to serve the same purpose, and they're both nonprofit. So, if it's not nonprofit, I think you probably have something there, and the appraiser was right, but I'm not so sure that they're not. So,
Your Honor, I don't know what the plan is. That we heard a garden, but obviously the home, veterans home, I think it is a nonprofit. I'm not saying that those properties would be, I mean, obviously they'd be separated properties. When they do a survey, that's going to be a separate legal lot that could be built, just like roughly the same size as where the veterans home sits.
Your Honor?
Yes, Councilman Guard.
I was the one that pushed through the sale and said it was a good idea to go to Habitat. And my thought for that is that those 4 lots on the east end of the hospital were originally platted lots clear back in 56, and they've never been sold. And do we have another offer from anyone else? And so the real appraising rule is the price is set when 2 fools agree on a price. Okay, and so I don't have a problem with the counter request, and the reason I'll tell you why is because the only way to raise property values is through that system. Is the next time the appraiser appraises, if he was still interested, I don't know why you would pay double the price for a garden if it truly is going to be a garden, because you can go up to the CWC and get a plot for very low charges. Is there any charge?
$45.
And so, and my only reason to stop and think about that is that it's the only offer that we have. And so, if we're going to get the ball rolling, I think somewhat of what we did up at the airport, where we, through me dragging my feet, we went out and speculated a lot, and it stirred some interest, and people got in and went. The negative to that is somebody shows up and says, gee, I would have put a row of townhouses in there if I could have back that 75 feet that you just gave away. Well, same thing with Mr. Swegler. He can go to his neighbor and buy 3 feet if his neighbor would sell. And so the point I'm trying to make is that it's the only offer we have. And we can continue to hold it and insist that it's worth more, or we can renegotiate like it's been suggested, try to raise the price a little bit, try to best ourselves there. And yet Eric's point is extremely pointed. If it's nonprofit for one, it should be nonprofit for the other. And I'm here to tell you that those are never, ever going to be premium lots. We're barking up a tree if we think we're going to get even $30,000 for a building lot there. And we've been told as much as 60, 65, 70. It's not going to happen. And so with that in mind, I think you need to be kind of realistic. At least he's making us an offer. And it's not a bad idea to try to counter it, try to raise the value so the next time the appraiser comes in, he can say, well, the price is up a little bit and maybe we get 50% more. I don't know why you'd pay that kind of money for a garden, but I think if he approached us, we'd let him garden it all he wanted till we sold it.
I don't think there's 6 inches of topsoil down there for a garden, but at any rate, is there any other discussion? I guess my only comment would be our initial offer that we'd received figures out to about $1.09 a square foot is what we would realize out of that initial offer. And my feeling, our being on the city council, that it's our responsibility as councilman and mayor to protect the assets of the citizens of Riverton. And this property is one of those assets. And so I have to ask myself, you know, personally, if this were my ground, would I sell it for $1.09 a square foot? And I said, no, I wouldn't. What would you sell it for? Well, you know, and you get into that discussion that Councilman Gard articulates, and I agree with Councilman Heiser that if we are going to treat one nonprofit one way, then we should treat the other one probably the same way. I had some trepidation about the initial sale, feeling that it was quite low, but in order to move the ball forward, we went ahead and approved it, so that's water under the bridge. But I guess it would be a different situation if we were in a financial crisis, that we had to sell off our assets at a fire sale price in order to cover some loan that we had outstanding or some debt. But I don't believe that we're in that condition, and so I was delighted to hear Councilman Fabion's motion. I think 20,000. I'd come up with a figure of 16, which figures out about $2.25 a foot, which to me is a more realistic figure. I think most of the lots around town, according to one of my realtor friends, suggested that they're going for about 2.5 a square foot. And so at any rate, I just see that it's our responsibility to try to protect the assets of the community, to get the best price we can, to keep things moving forward if we can economically. And right now, that piece of ground obviously isn't going anywhere fast, but that doesn't mean that it won't in the future. And with our new Job Corps going up with 400 people, 100 new employees that's going to be up there, that townhouse you're talking about might not be too far-fetched. So at any rate, once we sell it, why, it's gone, and that opportunity will go away. So anyone else care to comment? Okay, we have a motion on the floor to liquidate this property for $20,000. Is that counter offer?
It's a counter offer for 20.
Okay. With the anticipation that they may counter offer back. So, all those in favor signify.
Your Honor,
yes.
just as do we want to set a number? We probably shouldn't do it in. That would probably be an executive session item, so you're not telling the person. But with the discussions we've had already, I think he probably could get an idea. But do we want to set a number so we don't have to do this again? Or are you willing to, you just want it to come back to council if there's a counter?
It's whatever the will of the council is. I don't have any problem with the discussion, but
I'm fine with it coming back to us.
yeah, I agree. We're not in any rush to sell it. And
okay. Just want to make sure.
If we talk about it, talk about it enough, maybe it'll stimulate a little action.
That's right. He's through the growing season anyways. At any rate. All right, we have a motion and a second on the floor. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Mayor votes aye. Okay, thank you. agenda item number 18, 1% Forest Committee recommendation, Watt Court Overlay Project. City Administrator's report, please.
Yes, Your Honor. 71 Construction informed staff that the CWC would be connecting the street into Watt Court as a part of their work on the Health and Science Center project. 71 asked to meet with staff and proposed, because of the degradation of the existing asphalt, that they overlay the street when they were paving the new section. So right now, as you drive up College View and you look to the left, there's a street there. I hardly even know it's there. But Stratmore, I believe, is the only business on there right now. The rest of the properties are all vacant. And it's similar to the tree streets that we've talked about, where the asphalt's kind of diminished and there's just an aggregate left. And now the street is going to be paved from the end of that all the way up to the Circle Drive, which is going to become a higher traffic a road now. And so the quotes that 71 proposed, and there were two different options. The first option was to place a 1.5-inch fiber reinforced overlay. The second was to place a 2-inch fiber reinforced overlay. Option 1 is $27,665. Option 2 was $32,192. And so this was brought up to the Forest Committee. There was some discussion. Some of them initially said that the 1% should pay for all of it, and then there was some discussion that if the city could come up with some amount of money out of their budget, that they could do that too. And in talking to our acting lands division, Greg Schaub, it was decided that the city could make up the difference between option 1 and 2, which is about $5,000. We'd come that out of our budget, and the rest would be paid for out of the 1% money. And so it was the recommendation of the Forest Committee to overlay this for option 1, but obviously with staff we would do the option 2. And so that's the recommendation, and so it's up to the council now to decide.
Thank you, Stephen. The chair would entertain a motion regarding this 1% recommendation on Watt Court.
Your Honor, I would move to approve with, move forward with option 1 funded by the 1% monies, and option 2, the excess, be funded by the city streets or capital budget.
Okay.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Is there a discussion?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes.
I guess the first thing that comes to mind is, are we legal in doing this since it did not go out for bid?
Yeah, Your Honor, that is one thing that is brought to my attention, and I think several other council have discussed that, and the fact of this would, obviously they're already there. It's the notion that since they're already available on the site, everything's there, it's going to cost less. But I would agree with that in the fact that, you know, maybe it's not fair to the rest of the companies, that they should have an equal opportunity to bid on that.
Your Honor?
Yes, Councilman Garden.
I would even question the thought that maybe Watts Court doesn't need to be brought up to the 2-inch, to the option 2, to the 2-inch thickness. It's not a heavily used thoroughfare. And if we're trying to save city funds, at least we're getting an 1.5-inch lift, and it's probably going to be more than adequate for the surface use of property, and we'd save city funds. Thank you, Your Honor.
With the new health science area in there, I think that's going to be a very busy street.
Yeah.
Is that not?
Yeah, that's going to be a major.
Yeah.
That'll be the second main exit out of there. If you don't go through Circle Drive, that parking lot, the new parking lot, will connect to Watt Court now. Both new parking lots, I take that back, the Health and Science Center and then the new lot just to the east of it. So if folks, that's going to be the quickest way out, because if they don't want to drive around Circle Drive and come out on Peck Avenue, then their best option is going to be to take Watt Court.
Yes.
especially for folks that want to get onto College View towards Maine.
Your Honor.
Yes, Councilman Christensen.
Just to make sure I know what street this is, Strathmore would come out on that also.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we need to look at, I don't know if that's gone through, but that purchase of that building by that new uranium company. I know there's something in the works. So you're looking at some more heavy equipment coming into that area because they are huge. Something to consider because I know that I guess they're planning on that. So I know the equipment is larger and people are getting larger driver's licenses that work there, so or higher qualified licenses. So something to consider.
And Watt Court certainly needs overlaid. It's in really tough shape. So
I just hate to do it, and then here comes a company with a whole bunch of big trucks.
Would you care to comment on this discussion at all, Mr. Manka, being chairman of the Force Committee?
I'm Wendell Manka. I'm the chairman of the Force Committee, and the way this is coming about is that there's a lot of concern about the city setting on their money that should be used for maintenance and the Force Committee putting up all the money. So we have a very, very strong argument back and forth at some of our meetings because of this. And this was a kind of a concession between members that we need to do this. This street needs to be done. And I think it'd be at our advantage if we put the 2-inch on it and be done. And then we're not, if they do come with a little heavier equipment, I can't imagine them coming into there with very heavy equipment into that yard. Their parking lot's not going to stand up to very heavy equipment either. So there's going to be some problems there. So it's something that needs to be done. And get together and get it done. And then that's another one that us and you are not going to have to deal with in the near future.
Okay.
Because if we don't, the traffic that's going to come on that, Councilman Heiser is right. That's going to be a busy street.
Yep.
The next thing you're going to be hit with is somebody's going to want a traffic signal at the end of that thing. So,
Your Honor, I didn't know that we were connecting to the college parking lot. I take back all of my negatives.
Your Honor.
Ummy. Yes, Councilman Fagan.
I guess I just keep coming back to Eric's first statement. Is it legal? Because if it's not, then we need to not continue to discuss it. And if it is, then we should probably get after it. So what's the answer?
And Your Honor, too, I guess I think it is probably legal because you could make the argument that I'm not sure I want to make the argument, but my preference would be is what's our statute for advertising for bids? How quickly can we do that?
Well, Your Honor, I think with how low it is, you could just do 3 quotes, not necessarily bids where you have to put out and advertise and open and have specifications. It could just be 3 quotes from 3 different companies, because I believe that's up to about 50,000 that we can do that at.
I would feel much more comfortable with that. I really don't think that any of the other local companies are going to be able to touch that price because the economy of scale is there. They're already there. It's just trucking up some more asphalt is all it's going to cost them. But we need to be as transparent as possible with this money so that next time around we don't hopefully don't have to make quite as hard of a push for it. So
can we authorize a price not to exceed that current price? Or I mean, how would that work? Or do we have to actually revisit this in 2 weeks to determine the winning bid?
They're not ready to do paving yet, are they?
They're getting close.
Your Honor, I think, and Don said that they plan to do this in September, so
we've got a little bit of time.
So we could do it at the next meeting.
Your Honor?
Yes.
Does this not let the bid out of the hat, what 71's price is, though?
Sure.
Yeah.
So how is that fair to 71 when they put the numbers forward?
Well, they can come back and rebid it.
Well, sure they can, but their bid's out there and everybody knows where their bid lies. And so how did we get option 1? Did it go into bid Was it given to us through a bids process?
Probably just a quote.
71 approached us.
Yeah, they approached
We
the city.
approached no one. We were approached
71
by
came
them.
to us?
That's right.
So,
Came to the Forest Committee, if I had to guess. No?
came to the city, came to us directly.
Yeah.
Basically
All
proposed
games
us for
off,
a job.
goes to bid. They shouldn't have put their number out.
No, I would feel very uncomfortable moving forward on this without putting it out to bid. I think we just have to.
So, just as a point of order, do we need to put it out to bid, or can we just go solicit?
Yeah, we can do 3 informal quotes. We just say what we're looking for, and then they give us a quote back.
That would probably be the more timely option.
Hey, yeah, I would like that.
Okay.
Better idea.
Do we need to amend our motion then?
No, we'll just have to vote it down.
Okay, just vote it down. All right, we've got a motion and a second on the floor to approve the committee recommendation. So by voting it down, we're allowing ourselves to move forward with the quotes. So, okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign.
No.
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 Mayor votes no, so the motion fails. Now the chair would entertain a motion regarding the putting this
Your Honor, I would
court out to bid.
I would move that we accept competitive quotes for the overlay of lot, was it Circle?
Court.
Lot Court.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and second. Do we need any further discussion? Are we all on board with where we are? Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Mayor votes aye. Okay, agenda item number 19, 1% Forest Committee recommendation, Woodridge Estates Overlay Project. City Administrator's report, please.
Yes, Your Honor, the Forest Committee was given the information generated as part of the neighborhood surveys. Public comment was also received from Nancy Stern regarding the conditions of the streets at Woodridge Estates subdivision. As one of the first projects, the Forest recommends overlay the streets in the subdivision. Staff put together plans and specifications for Woodridge Estates overlay. Project was advertised. 4 contractors signed up and downloaded the bid package. They were opened on August 2nd, 2013 with the following results. Mountain Construction at $475,994.19. Dave Asphalt, $382,570. And 71 Construction at $358,771. Staff reviewed the bid results to assure the bid was responsive. Staff recommends that the City Council award the bid to 71 Construction in the amount of $358,771.
Okay, the chair would entertain a motion regarding the Woodridge Estate bid.
Your Honor, I would happily suggest that we award the bid for Woodridge overlay in the amount of $358,771 to 71 Construction.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Is there discussion?
I know my neighbors will be very happy when it's finished. I drive over it every day. It's in terrible shape, so.
It's terrible.
Yes, my only question has to do with the finances on all of this. I mean, this is part of the Forest Committee, right?
That's correct.
So, I mean, are we going to be in good shape to do this much work this fast?
Your Honor, I have no idea. We're up to about 250,000 right now. I have no idea. We don't even have a quarter in yet of the year.
June 30 was the first quarter, so we haven't received that check yet.
No, we received.
Is that what you meant by quarter?
No, I meant the first quarter of this fiscal year. We don't have any history. I don't know what it's going to come in on. If it was regular sales tax, I could tell you, but not with this.
Are we in any shape to do this?
My opinion was not solicited.
Yes, it was. I just did.
This is my fear. My fear is a water fund. The water fund may have to borrow from another fund. What fund would you like that to be? we are watching the water fund very, very closely. And we're going to have to start transferring from their reserve based on over 700,000 out in drawdowns right now, and 700,000, another 700,000 that you just approved tonight with the Finance Committee recommendations. So it's going to get tight. So all these projects, what I'm saying is all these projects going out, I'm not sure we can keep up with the cash flow.
Your Honor,
Yes.
we can't spend this 1 cent anywhere else. Right?
That's right.
Right.
And so we have to, maybe we have to wait. Is that what you're suggesting to us, that we wait until we have the amount of money in banked before we award a bid? Is that where you're suggesting to wait?
I am suggesting wait, because if we have these projects come in and we have pay applications, we're going to have to get money to loan to the 1 cent fund, just like we would the water fund. It's a separate fund that we would have to take care of when it comes to the cash flow.
When is the next payment due?
Should be any time. Right? It's paid quarterly.
Yes.
And the first full quarter was April 1 to June 30. So
Right.
I thought they were about a month behind, but
Could we just maybe revisit this at the next council meeting? Are the bids legitimate for that long, or what are our
Well, Your Honor, I think,
options?
yeah, I mean, we could wait. I think it's pretty close if we already have 260 in.
Yeah.
The lowest bid is 358, and it's going to take a while to actually overlay.
But didn't we also authorize them to put out a $900,000 concrete bid? We didn't?
We didn't authorize that, did we?
To go to bid, I thought.
Well, we put it out to bid. We haven't actually authorized the work yet, but we put that out to bid, and I thought that was supposed to be phase 1 of this whole gig. So
I'm gonna have Dawn.
I don't understand why we're awarding phase 2 when we haven't even bid phase 1 if we don't have the money to do it all at once anyway.
Yes, we have the miscellaneous concrete project out for bid right now. It has not come before you for award yet. The council, the Force Committee recommended both of these projects to go out for bid. Last meetings ago, I believe you guys approved that recommendation. This is the one that was able to get done faster and get out advertised for bid. So it's the first one we opened.
Does the Force Committee, if we have to choose one or the other, what is the will of the Force Committee at this point? Do you know?
We're pretty hard-nosed about that concrete. It has to be done.
That's what I thought.
If you don't do that concrete work, there's no use doing the rest of it. You have such dilapidated curbs and gutters and valley pans in this city that it just shocked me. When we started looking at these things and I started driving around after the mayor kind of corralled me into this little program, I started driving around and making notes myself. And then when Dawn and these people and the engineers started looking at this, it's just amazing what you've got. What is happening is that we have such bad curbs and gutters and valley pans, the water is going underneath. So therefore your street's not going to be any good. If it's good today, the next rain it won't be. If we don't fix these things, there's no use doing overlays. The only reason we wanted to move ahead with this is because we're getting some flack from people to see overlays in town, to see some streets repaired. We was led to believe that the cash flow was coming to cover these by the time these bills would start coming in. So that's why we're moving forward with them. We have some more projects that we're pushing the same thing. We're going to be pushing you for $2 million more for concrete work. And that may not cover it.
Your Honor?
Yes.
It's an email. I may have to switch where I'm at, but Don sent out an email that targeted the asphalt or the concrete replacement in this project, correct?
That we talked about 2 weeks ago. Is that what you're talking about, Councilman Garn?
Actually, the concrete replacement in in this bid section, correct?
Are you talking, you mean the picture that showed what was being?
There, you have an email out. I can switch to it. Give me a second.
I think, are you asking, this area, the sidewalks were not recommended to be bid. They are not part of the bid.
Correct, and there's very few corrections in the concrete in this section.
Right. This is just an overlay.
And are those corrections addressed in which bid, which package? Is it in the concrete package?
It is in neither right now.
It's in neither. So the concrete corrections that you've targeted in that email are in neither bid. Okay. There is not a lot of them that she targeted in those in the section that you're talking about overlaying, but you are correct that we ought to do the concrete before we do the overlay.
And we have a large patch project coming up. What, 140 to $150,000 of a large patch project is coming up that needs to be done also.
And that one is not out for bid yet. I wasn't quite sure where money was in this construction season.
Right.
I guess I just feel like right now the prudent thing for this council to do would be to press the pause button and see where we sit 2 weeks from now before we start authorizing these expenditures.
Yeah, it seems to me that I don't think there's any question that the monies will be coming in and that we will have it. I don't think that's an issue. I would think that if you were talking to the contractor 71 or whoever, and say, look, this is where we're at, and have these projects put into a queue, if you will, but obviously they have to be contingent upon our ability to pay them or have some agreement with the contractor that, you'll be paid as soon as we receive the money in the 1%. And how to do that to fit our schedule and to make sure that it's all done, according to our votes and yada, yada, yada. That gets a little confusing, but I would think that if we got, sit down with Randy or Dave Long or whoever and said, look, this is where we are. Do you want to do the work now or do you want to wait 2 weeks? I have an idea that they would say, no, let's go ahead and move forward with it.
But there's no guarantee in 2 weeks that we can afford to do all of this either. I mean, what I hear Courtney saying is we may not have the cash flow in its entirety to do what we have to do.
But we also have the 18.5% reserve in areas that we can move, and so I don't.
So, Your Honor,
I don't. That doesn't worry me too much, but
I guess part of the question then is what's the timeline on these projects? If we've got the concrete out to bid, okay, when do we expect that bid to come in?
Bids will be open this Friday.
Bids will be open this Friday, and so then so it's another 10 days then that we would go before we get to the next council meeting to where we would award that bid. And so then is there somebody poised with their jackhammers ready to go to work, or are we actually waiting for somebody to say, yeah, okay, I got the bid. As soon as I get done with 2 other projects, I'll get right on it?
I don't know the answer. I don't know, but it does typically, before we start construction on any project, they've got to get insurance, they've got to get other things. So it's typically after we give them the notice of award, it's typically at least 2 weeks, not more, before they actually get out there and start.
But you're expecting this concrete work to be done in the year 2013?
That's what we put in the bid.
I see. Okay.
Your Honor?
Yes, Councilman Gardner.
You can heat concrete, but we lose asphalt's ability somewhere in late October.
40 degrees.
We can push November, but that's pretty bad. And so
that's really questionable then.
When we go to the contractors and say, what do you think? They're going to want us. They're going to want to race, and that's understandable. But Courtney's point is, they also want to get paid when they're done.
Your Honor.
Yes.
I've had to do that And it's not a good scenario, and it's not a good way to conduct business with contractors in this city. I had to hold a check for $800,000 in the safe. And I'm not prepared to do that again because I got chewed out big time by Mr. Urbicite. but it does. And even though we say we have money in reserve, that has to be our cash flow.
The money that's in reserve is based on money that hasn't come in yet either.
Right.
So it's not like we have 18.5% sitting somewhere in a bank account to pay it to flow our. I come back to what I said before. I think we'd be prudent to wait 2 weeks and see where we're at.
And I have no problem with that. If that's the will of the council.
And conservatively, if we're going to go off these numbers that we're all talking about, the check's going to be at least $500,000.
Got to be, or we got to table one.
Yeah.
Well, depending on the concrete.
I guess for me, I'd rather award it with a contingency that as soon as that check comes in, that we go. I don't want to wait 2 weeks. The money's coming, and it's going to be here any day. So
check's in the mail.
Started. I mean, if they're a month late and the quarter ended June 30, correct? April, May, June is second quarter. That's when the tax started to be collected. So we're into to August. So we're over a month late into the second quarter, into the third quarter, I'm sorry. So I understand wanting to wait, but if what we're waiting on is that check, then why do we need to wait 2 more weeks until the check comes? Why can't we just make the motion to say as soon as the check comes, award the bid?
Your Honor, the other thing that makes sense is you buy what you can afford. We could afford this possibly in 2 weeks. And so we buy the overlayment because we have the money. If we come in with bids on Friday that are $1 million plus and we're anticipating 900,000, that bid's going to have to wait. And the Forest Committee's going to have to be patient and say, you know, when we get $900,000 or $1.2 million, we'll go with the concrete.
We'll be patient.
And
I think that's the answer.
Or I might get beat up on the deal, but we'll be patient.
We'll help you. We'll drag you to your car.
I understand what you're saying there, but they said that if they have to pick one or the other, they want the concrete. So I think we should hold on to that money and spend it on the concrete if we can only afford one or the other.
That's why you get a vote.
Your Honor.
Okay.
Yes.
Your Honor. I think the person who handles our day-to-day finances for the city is uncomfortable with us spending money that we do not have in the bank.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would move to table this motion until the next meeting.
Second.
Okay.
Understandable.
Solve that problem. We don't need to vote on that motion.
No, it's done.
Okay. Council committee reports and council members roundtable. Councilman Baker.
Your Honor, as much as I am interested in the Volunteers of America and have been accepted as a member of their advisory committee for Riverton, I missed the meeting. I hope next time around that I'll be able to get my schedule organized properly so that I can attend. But I didn't get to that. As far as the mosquito report, you know, we actually do have a real live case of West Nile virus in a person in Lander. And the State Department of Health has not, I haven't seen the official email from them. They usually send out an email and tell us where they're at, but maybe that'll come tomorrow. I don't know. But at any rate, I haven't gotten that. I haven't seen that email, but they were, the husband of the infected person was in the office this morning showing us the paperwork to prove that she was sick. He was upset that the Department of Health wasn't recognizing it fast enough. So at any rate, but we do have at least one human case, and that certainly lines up, you know, pretty good. We have West Nile virus detects in a couple areas of Lander. Snavely Lane, Hudson, Arapahoe, and 2 locations in Riverton, 2 locations in Natrona County. This is really different from previous years, and so it certainly suggests that there's a lot more West Nile virus out there. And people need to be really concerned about that and protect themselves when they're out and about. Like when this meeting gets out tonight, you know, don't dilly-dally around visiting outside in the parking lot.
Okay.
Unless you've got your deed on it, okay? Yeah. I know, this time of year it's hot. We want to put on shorts. We want to, you know, we want to cool off a little bit. Boy, we've got a serious disease that, and it's interesting, you know, I don't know how to evaluate that risk. There's probably more people get hurt with lawnmowers than get West Nile virus sick, but nonetheless, those few who do get, you know, neuroinvasive disease associated with West Nile virus are in serious trouble.
Okay. Councilman Christensen.
Your Honor, I have no committee reports, but I would like to take a moment just to thank the City of Riverton and the several departments I work with the Fremont County Fair parade. I'd especially like to thank Chief Broadhead and all the officers that there's a lot of officers that were working down there for that parade. I appreciate their time and effort, and the Public Works Department, everybody that was involved. They were very kind to do that. Turned out to be a good parade, and we hope we'll have another morning one of these days. So thank you very much, and to all the other volunteers out there that did help me. So I do appreciate it. It's a fun event. It really is fun to do, and it's really fun just to drive up and down Main Street in a little cart for about an hour. So it's keeping everybody going. So thank you again to all of you. Thanks.
Your Honor.
Yes. Councilman Baker.
I would suggest that driving up and down the street in a little cart for an hour was a very small part of the amount of effort that was expended on putting that parade together. And so thank you, Mary Ellen, for your contributions.
It's fun just to drive that cart for an hour. I love doing it.
That's the reward. That's the reward. That's your pay, right?
Yeah. No, that's on Facebook. I got to shake hands with the Oak Ridge boys and get their autograph.
Okay.
I just saw a picture on there.
Councilman Heiser. What do you
we had a rec board meeting yesterday. Just paid some bills, and that was about it there. Want to thank the fair folks. Also want to thank our rendezvous committee for an outstanding job as usual. I think a lot of times we take the fair and rendezvous for granted because it seems to go off without a hitch, and we had beautiful weather for the balloons this year, which they deserved after getting skunked last year. So we got to partake in that on Sunday. I saw the mayor helping out with his balloon, and my 2-year-old daughter thought that was pretty cool with all those balloons going up. So it was neat. It was also neat to see that they went a different direction for the first time. So they, I think it was great, and the fireworks were spectacular, and it was just all around. I was in Lake Havasu City for the 4th of July, and thoroughly disappointed in the fireworks that we saw there on the 4th. And to come here to a small city and the show that they put on was amazing. So I want to thank those folks, and they do a terrific job for nothing. So I just wanted to make sure that we thank them. So,
Councilman Guard.
Mary, my committee is next on this Thursday night, so I'll go and try to report back. But the same thing, you know, has been said, that to come through that activity with the opportunity to go judge the sandwiches and see the people that were involved in doing that and getting a ride in the balloon and you know, just being part of is wonderful, and the community has something to really be proud of, and we need to to help that along every way we can to encourage those and to help those that put that on for us. And so I appreciate the opportunities that I was given. Steve called me and let me do a few things that you were supposed to do.
Oh, okay.
But you bought into you were part of the adversary, I understand, so we couldn't use you for the sandwich. But it was fun to see the people gather. And I'll tell you one other thing I did just last night. I got a call, and I was asked to umpire softball. And Eric plays softball. I am not a softball guy. And so when I showed up, they had to give me all the new rules, okay? And yet, the thing that I want to point out was it was extremely fun for me to work 2 games where everyone was enjoying themselves. They weren't there to win at any cost. And the teams that I umped for, it was a thorough, enjoyable opportunity for myself to finally get to a spot where we didn't argue if we were out at first or not. And so I threw Keith from Channel 13. He might have been safe, but I called him out. And I told him it was just because he was part of the press.
Way to go, Rich.
I just wanted to throw that in. That it was totally enjoyable to get into those activities, and that's exactly what the balloon rally was about. People enjoying themselves and helping each other. And you know, sometimes we take things way too serious. And it was enjoyable to do that last night, and I appreciate the opportunity. Riverton's a wonderful place to live, and all I have to do is get out and look around a little bit and find out that you're right about that. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. Councilman Fabian.
I don't have any committee reports, but I would echo the sentiments of the rest of the council. I think it's pretty impressive when you take a step back and look at the last few weeks and think about all of the community organizations and nonprofits and volunteer organizations that have stepped in. You know, you've got the umbrella organizations, the Rendezvous and the Fair, but then you've got a lot of other organizations that inject themselves into that process as well. And it really is a community-wide effort, and it's just stunning to see that many people and that many different interests come together to make Riverton one of the most amazing places to live, and especially, you know, in this time of year. Just, I don't know, I'm just in awe of that. And so thanks to everybody who did that.
Okay, thank you. Councilman Smith.
Nothing further to add tonight.
Nothing further, all right. City Administrator's report, please.
Yeah, to echo, the Rendezvous event was awesome. I enjoyed every bit of it. The balloon ride was first time, and judging sandwiches, I've never seen such creative people and making Tetons and dogs, which was the champion. I mean, it was amazing. I give a lot of credit to Courtney. She's kind of our liaison for the Rendezvous, and she is here at night doing these rendezvous meetings that sometimes go on for hours. So I give her credit for that. We do have the Job Corps groundbreaking coming up on Friday. That's a big thing. Encourage everyone to attend that. That'll be at 10:30 up at the Job Corps site. One other issue I wanted to bring up that came to my attention today is apparently we cut and spray weeds on sidewalks on Federal and Main and Pershing and maybe even Sunset. And in talking to staff, they had gotten that direction some time ago, and they've been doing it like that for years. To me, that's a policy decision of the council, is if you want us to continue doing that, because we need to have some sort of justification for why we do that. Otherwise, why are we cutting weeds for people on certain streets and not doing it for others? And I wasn't aware of that until, you know, you dive into some of these things and find out about it. But I think that could be a discussion of the council to see if you want to continue on with that. I mean, I can see some reasoning for why you'd want to do the Main Street and Federal, because those are our entryways into our communities. And we want to make sure they're kept nice. You know, we do a lot in the downtown with flower boxes, and we maintain all those type of things. But I'd hate to be in a position where we're saying to one street, you know, we're going to maintain it, and others we're not. And so I initially called the staff off of that and say we don't do that until we get some direction from the council. So.
Thank you. Is that something that you're wanting direction this evening, or would you prefer
I mean,
to
if you have initial thoughts, or we can talk about it at a later date. I just didn't know.
I think that would probably be better to let us think about it and then maybe bring it up at a work session or something and think about that a little bit more, because that was a real surprise to me too when you brought that up, Stephen. So, okay, anything else?
No.
Okay. I thought sure you were going to want to spend some time on our trip to Jackson with all the solar collectors up there, and
I'd forgotten all about that with all the other events we had going on.
That was quite a fun time. Stephen and I went up to Jackson and spent time with Mayor Barron and their Public Works Director, Larry Pardee, and they're pressing the envelope on all things renewable and solar, and it's really making an impact in their budget. And I was very impressed with what they're doing, and they offered to help us any way that they can. So, but in as much as it's getting kind of late, why, we'll save the rest of that story for a little later. I also want to thank everyone that turned out for the fair parade. Winning a trophy is pretty special, I think. So I certainly didn't anticipate that, and but I just felt that it's very important. You know, if we've got 100 employees here and we've got councilmen that are spending the amount of time and whatnot to help put together a parade like that, and the community involvement and whatnot, then the city needs to have some kind of a presence there. And I just appreciate everyone that did show up and helped us with that. So thank you. I have three other things, and I'll be very brief, but one of them is the Wyoming Women's Council selects Woman of Distinction. Lynn McCullough of Riverton has been selected to receive the 2013 Woman of Distinction Award by the Wyoming Council for Women's Issues, and that's a great honor for Lynn, and she's very well deserving of it. Anyone that knows her knows what a bright, articulate lady she is in our community, and also a West Nile virus survivor, and so that was neat. Then we had a letter in the paper by Peggy Gress. City yard waste truck driver did the nicest thing. Editor, the nicest thing happened on the 4th of July as we were working in our yard. My husband noticed the City of Riverton yard waste truck coming down the street. We had not put our blue rubber out for the holidays, so I rushed to pull the tub to the road. The nice driver saw me and actually pulled into our driveway and emptied the tub. He had a big smile on his face, and he really made our day to do such a random act of kindness. I've inquired who the driver was. Thank you, Rod, for doing such a great job. It's those kind of things that really make you feel good about our community and the way that our staff are being interacted with the citizens. And then I received an email from our chief of police. It says, gents, on Monday I was off duty and driving down Sunset when I observed our animal control officer, Sarah Lowe, suddenly stop and pull to the side of the road. At first I thought she might be chasing a loose dog, but quickly realized that she was picking up a broken piece of drywall that had fallen onto the roadway, probably off of a work truck. The piece was about 2 feet by 3 foot, so was not insubstantial. I know, Mayor, that this has been an issue for you in the past, that city employees don't locate debris in the roadway, and I thought you might enjoy hearing that people really are out there locating and fixing problems. Perhaps this happens more often than we think. Mike. I agree, Mike. I think that it does happen more often than we're probably aware of, and I was delighted to get that email from you. Thank you. So, Other than that, I just think that we all need to say a short prayer for Mr. Urbicite in Casper as he's recovering from his brain surgery. It's a difficult time for Bill. It's a difficult time for all of us. And we just wish him the very best. So I think with that, we don't need to continue with the executive session. So declare we